Hey, welcome to my channel. It's great to see you here. My name is Cliffe. I'm coming to you from my studio here in Bucharest, Romania. And today, for something a little bit different, I wanted to talk about the positive impact that the concepts of minimalism have had on my mental health. So before we go any further, it'd be great if you could click the thumbs up icon down below, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Most of the content I produce is music and guitar related, but probably about once a month I post some kind of video about minimalism and these concepts. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then definitely come along. Feel free to ignore the stuff that doesn't interest you. It is a free world, and that's the cool thing about YouTube. You don't have to watch everything, although sometimes I think you do. Now, I grew up in a working class home in the north of England, and basically as I grew up and got older and started working and got married and bought our own place and all that kind of stuff, that kind of level of having enough, we always had enough but we never had kind of excess, was something that was a key part of life. Doesn't mean I didn't collect a lot of stuff over the time, but we'll come on to that later. But basically there was never vast amounts of spare money at the end of the month or anything like that. And then in 2013 we took a leap of faith and moved to Hong Kong, which turned out to be a really great experience in so many ways. But one thing it did take a little bit of time getting used to was just quite literally having money. Now, this sounds very much a first world problem, and it is. I absolutely admit that. But we were in a situation where, after spending so many years, I was in my mid-30s by this point, not having spare money to spend, and where essentially every pound or whatever was going on, bills and making ends meet and all that kind of thing, and basically the money I spent on gear was the money I earned from gigs. And I didn't really have any other kind of hobbies or anything like that. All of a sudden, we were in a position where we had plenty of money and no real expenses. And I often ask myself, in fact, Eva and I often ask ourselves, where did all the money go? Where did this, for us, vast amount of income go? Now, don't get me wrong, we had a really nice life in Hong Kong. We went on some really great holidays. We paid off our mortgage on our house in the UK. We set up a really good savings and investment thing over there. We lived a nice life. We ate well. We enjoyed our time. And of course, I bought some really nice gear as well. But all along, it was something that I struggled internally with. I couldn't reconcile, I think, in some ways, having this money, and I just felt like I was being a bad steward of what was coming in. And it was a real challenge for me because I just, in many ways, couldn't stop. Now, it never got to the point of, hoarding or anything like that, but I was someone who liked to collect things and liked to buy things, and I think that's just something that's been an inherent part of my nature growing up and all along. In fact, I often think if I could collect things for other people, that would probably be pretty good, because a lot of the time I like collecting things for the action of collecting them. It might be a slightly kind of obsessive compulsive part of my personality, but I'm not actually too worried about having the things after I've collected them. This started to have a toll on perhaps certain fringes of my mental health, which hadn't been 100% even or anything like that beforehand. Going back a few years, in early 2008, I had not a full mental breakdown or anything, but I had a time where I really had an experience with work-related stress, and I had to take some time off work, and I just had to reset and readjust and rebalance my life. I was in a pretty stressful job at the time. I wasn't taking care of myself, wasn't taking breaks, and that had a real impact on my life. And then, so a couple of years later, I then stepped away from that kind of 9 to 5 work for a time, and that really helped in many ways. It didn't relieve the stress of needing to earn money, but it did take the pressure off me, put the pressure I was putting on myself off, which was really helpful. But that was kind of the first sign, at least to me. Other people may have spotted things in the past from the way I was, but that was the first thing of maybe all is not 100% right in my brain chemistry. So how does minimalism come into all this? Well, as I say, I was struggling to kind of find a balance when I was in Hong Kong, and I started building this slightly ridiculous collection of guitars and amps and pedals and PA gear and lighting and all that kind of thing, as well as Star Wars Lego and other things, books, and just so many things that were building up, and we were in small apartments, and I'm not saying necessarily that having a significant income is a problem. I think the challenge for me was because I wasn't used to it, I didn't know how to handle it in the same way. We could have invested a lot more money into our future in Hong Kong, but we weren't in that mindset because we'd come from not having spare money. So in the end, we spent a lot of it, and I spent a lot of it. I am 80-90% of the issue in the whole financial stewardship of our life, I guess. There are things that both of us, I think, would admit we didn't necessarily make the wisest of decisions on. But it was just always taking a toll. And then I started to read about this concept called minimalism. Now, a lot of it I saw was quite extreme, and it didn't really capture my imagination. But there was also a kind of rational minimalism thing that was really starting to take note of this whole concept of enough. And I speak about the concept of enough a lot on this channel, a lot to do with guitar gear. I am mid-purge of a lot of stuff. Leaving Hong Kong was a real kind of opportunity to move on quite a lot of stuff. So we were able to donate a lot of PA and lighting gear and sell some stuff to church and this, that, and the other. Lots of things that reduced the amount of excess stuff significantly, which was a really good thing. But this is still an ongoing process, and it's something that I struggle with still daily. Applying some of these concepts of just having enough, never kind of putting to a point where you're struggling in terms, always being able to do everything you need to do, but not having excess, because I don't know that having excess ever benefits anyone. I really feel that quite strongly, and as a Christian, there's the verse about if you have a second coat, give it to someone who needs it. That kind of, it all resonated and it all started to click and it all started to make sense to me. And so I kind of went down a route where I started making regular minimalism videos on YouTube, because that's what I do. I made this series called Baby Steps Towards Minimalism. And in the end, I just came to a point where, in my particular situation, I didn't have enough content to keep making that regularly. Now, a couple of years on, I'm considering doing maybe a once a month series on minimalism, because I think I can sustain that. But I was producing content every week, and I don't think it was adding value to me or to anybody else, because it was a lot of time repeating content. So it was, something that had a big impact. And I'm this kind of person who, when something really grabs me, I go kind of 110 miles an hour straight at it, and then start to lose steam. I don't have a lot of stamina in that kind of way. So this was something that, it really resonated with me. It really excited me as a concept, but then I found it incredibly difficult to follow through with it. And this is something that I'm still battling with. Now, one of the aspects of my personality that I think I've said is that I struggle with having too much stuff around. Now, I think a lot of people like or work better in a clear workspace without stuff everywhere. But for me, it becomes a real distraction where I get really almost upset when I see stuff lying around. So we're now in an apartment that has vast numbers of cupboards and vast amounts of storage in Bucharest here. And that's great in the sense that I can put stuff away so stuff is not out and visible. But it's still not actually being used. And I have to wonder all the time, or at least I do wonder all the time, could anyone make better use of this? And I'm absolutely convinced that a lot of the time they could. But this is not a kind of whole negative thing. This is a positive thing, that having these thoughts, discovering this concept of minimalism, discovering this concept of only having enough, has really helped me come to terms with this, and go through and declutter, which is a kind of really real rage buzzword at the moment, it seems. But that I can go through and say, look, do I really need this? And some things are really easy to move on, to donate. Clothing, great. Our church has a donation box for clothing, so I can go through and I can take that, and that's gone. That's gone within a couple of days. That's fantastic. Other stuff is much more tricky. So it's a process, and it is something that I have been working on for a long time. But it's something that I personally have really reaped the benefits kind of inside of all this concept of just enough. So what is enough? Well, as I say, I never think anyone should feel constricted in terms of I don't have enough stuff. So you see some people who there's 2 people in the house, so they have 2 mugs and 2 plates and 2 bowls. That to me would really limit your potential to do things that are fun. You can't have people around for dinner. You can't sometimes you want to be more creative in the kitchen or whatever it is. And in the same way, having a few books that you really like and really enjoy and stuff, having a few things that are decorative is great. But I get really, when I see whether on YouTube or in person, places that are really cluttered, and I know for some people it's a visual style that they really like, having lots of things around, and that's fine. But for me, I can't spend too long in those situations. So I really, have grown to appreciate, and it's not just an aesthetic thing, but I have grown to appreciate the aesthetics of a minimal environment. But just deep down in my heart, just this whole concept of having enough but not having excess is just something that has really helped me. And this is the first year that I've not had the winter blues, if you will. I've not felt the major effects of seasonal affective disorder. I've had a few ups and downs, a few bad days, but I think that over the last 3 years or so, as I've been exploring concepts of minimalism and kind of deciding where on that journey I lie and what works for me, because it is just a concept. It's not a lifestyle per se. It's certainly not a religion, although some people seem to make out that it is. But it's just concepts that you can apply to your life. And to me, that is really... I've really found a lot of peace in that, and it's really helped me in terms of just looking at so many aspects of my life and my money and what I do as a musician, because at the end of the day, that's what I do. I am a musician first and foremost, so I can't get away with just having one guitar, or at least it would be a struggle. But I don't need 35, and that's the kind of stage I was getting to before I discovered this concept. And I am heading currently on a path to 16, which is 8 electric guitars, 4 acoustic guitars, 4 basses. That may sound a lot, but it's what I feel is enough for what I do. I may reduce that further, but in my current situation, that level is enough. Now, this is a very specific thing, and everyone is different. Everyone's lifestyle, everyone's environment is different. But I would really love to hear from you if any of the things I've brought up or any other aspects of minimalism have had a real positive impact, not just on your physical life and the clutter around your stuff, but have really helped to lift your mood and helped your mental health. I think it's something that not a lot of people talk about, and to me it's been a real benefit. So yeah, I just appreciate if you could drop a line in the comments and let me know, because it might give me ideas for future content. As I say, I'm hoping to maybe in the summer start producing a once a month regular series on either my minimalism journey or tips that I've picked up along the way, or just something that is designed to inspire and help other people who are maybe going through something similar to what I am. So thank you for watching. Once again, I've been Martin Cliffe. Click that thumbs up icon if you liked the video, comment down below, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you soon. Take care.